Hey Canucks fans, let's talk about money. Not only the cap hit, but the salaries themselves. I'm Clay Emo, I'm at Canuck Clay on Twitter. I'm at Clay Emo on Instagram. I'm the founder of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club. This is my Canucks take, all in one take. It's Clay's Canucks commentary for Monday, December the 28th. This is where you get Canucks insight that's positive and timely. Hope you're doing well. I'm entering week two of my 2 weeks off of work. I think a lot of people had today off though, because it's the stat that was supposed to be Boxing Day. That was on Saturday. But yeah, looking forward to a few more days off, taking some time with the family. And of course, don't forget tonight, because it's Monday, I'm visiting friends tonight. Not visiting, I'm dropping off gifts. But I'll be back in time for my live stream at 10 p.m. So make sure you join me tonight at 10 p.m. for my weekly live stream. Today, I want to talk about money. I don't have a lot of it because I work for the Catholic Church, but I want to talk about the Vancouver Canucks financial situation. And I'm not talking about their organization overall, but I'm looking at this particular season that's coming up. And I want to talk about both salary cap, the cap hits, and I want to talk about actual salary that's going to get paid in terms of what we call cash, obviously by checks, but in terms of the actual salary. Because we know that the salary does not always and will almost never actually completely equal to the actual salary cap. And I bring this up because we've been seeing about 4 or 5 different signings and transactions happening throughout the NHL. Today we saw that Anthony Ciu, he signed with the LA Kings for $1.2 million. Then we saw Michael Furlik a couple days ago, $750,000 with the Montreal Canadiens. We saw Corey Perry earlier this morning, $750,000 with the Montreal Canadiens. So we're starting to see these kind of smaller deals for players where they would have obviously made way more. Then there's the Mike Hoffman that we talked about yesterday, the big trade between Ottawa and Tampa Bay. And those weren't so much, we don't focus so much on the salaries on those because Hoffman is a PTO who I think ultimately will get signed by the St. Louis Blues. Kind of smart what they did there, as I talked about yesterday. And, we're not going to go into the individual salaries between all the guys traded in the Ottawa Tampa deal. But what we need to know there is Ottawa now has 3 players that they can use right away. Combine it with the Stepan trade, whereas Tampa Bay has now got LTIR relief, which was smart on their part as well. But I look at guys like Anthony Ciu, Perry, and Furlik, saying, man, why don't the Canucks do that? Why can't they sign a guy for $750,000 or $1 million or $1.2 million? Because those seem like very affordable deals, and they are. And today, I'm not going to get into the merits of these actual 3 guys. Corey Perry, I was talking to my son Sean about it. It's interesting. He's like, when I hear that Montreal signs him, like, oh yeah, we don't need him. He's getting old or whatever. But I have a feeling that Corey Perry's the kind of guy where if we signed him, I don't know about you, Canucks fans, but I would actually be very excited. I think he'd be an upgrade still on maybe our 4th line. And at $750, you can't really argue that, especially when a guy like Eriksson is making $6 million, or a guy like Sutter is making 4.3, or a guy like Beagle is making $3 million. Like $750 seems really, really good and a good deal comparatively speaking. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Just a little aside there with Corey Perry. If he is here, I like the way he used to play, and if he could play decently for 1 more year at $750, that helps a lot. It helps a lot because of the Canucks salary cap situation. We know that they're up against the cap, and I think everyone's kind of hoping and anticipating that we get $3.5 million worth of relief because of Michael Furlan and his concussion issues going on, the LTIR, the long-term injury reserve. So there's $3.5 million that maybe we weren't counting on a few months ago, but might be more, it might be more realistic now. But according to Cap Friendly, which I know many people go to, right now, when you add up all the salaries, the Canucks the projected cap hit is at $83 million, which is 1.5 over, but they're likely to use a lot, use Michael Furlan's to help them get back under the $83 million. And we know that we still have Ryan Spooner, 1 year of him, and buyout penalty, and we have 2 years of Luongo's cap recapture penalty. That's brutal. That's $3 million a year still. That's coming off, that's hitting our books. But what's really interesting is if we use that number of 83 million as salary cap, what's going to be our cap hit? When you click on the salary tab, what you'll find here is right now, actually, the total salaries owed are only going to be $67 million. So only, a good $15 or $16 million less than the salary cap. And why is that? Well, a lot of these contracts, not all, But a lot of these contracts were what you call front-loaded, where let's take a guy like Horvat, for example. We know that his contract over 6 years was $33 million. Is $5.5 million a year for 6 years. So the cap hit is simple. It's 5.5, 5.5, 5.5 for the 6 years. But when you look at his salary, he got more in the first few years, like $7 or $8 million. Actually, I shouldn't say that was probably a bad example to use. But Horvat, I'm just looking at his money, his actual salary that's paid. In the next 3 years, it's 3.5 for this year. So not 5.5 cap hit, but 3.5 this year. Then it goes up to 5.8 next year, and then it comes down to 4.5 next year. So probably not the best example, but you do see an example how his money, generally, he's making less than cap hit over the next 2 or 3 years. And sometimes you'll see deals that are front-loaded, and sometimes you'll see deals that are back-loaded. Another good example is Brock Besser. Here's an example where it's the opposite, cap hit versus salary. His cap hit, Besser's cap hit for the next 2 years is 5.9 or 5.875 for this year and next year. But the actual salary being owed is actually more than that. It's $6 million this year and 7.5 next year. And that has a lot to do with the way he negotiated that, because of the way that he wants to get paid when this bridge deal is done. So it's clear to see, just looking at Horvat and Besser as examples, that there's two different ways of doing it if your cap hit does not equate your salary. Sometimes your salary is going to be less than the cap hit, and sometimes your salary is going to be more than the cap hit, depending on how the years go. But in the Vancouver Canucks situation, the reason why I bring this up is, as a whole, their salary cap hit is $83 million, but the actual cash out is only going to be $67 million. So that doesn't mean you get $16 million more to play with. It means that the Canucks have shaved 16 to 20 million off of their cash expenditure. So maybe there's a notion or director from Francesco Aquilini, the owner, up top saying, hey, my businesses aren't doing well, my real estate's not doing well because of the global economy, because of the pandemic. So I am not going to commit to any more cash. I do not want any more cash out. And maybe that's why Travis Green doesn't have his extension yet. We all hope that it's going to happen. We all think it's going to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. And that's because as soon as maybe they don't want to commit to settling into a number. And of course, that's not a cap hit thing as a coach. It's just straight salary. So they probably don't want to commit to Travis Green yet until they have a better idea of how their financials are going to be in the next 2 or 3 years. But it's unfortunate that we have our head coach kind of twisting in the wind there. So my overall point is, the reason why I don't think you're going to see the Canucks sign even a guy like Frolik or a Perry or guys like that for less than $800,000, is the Canucks don't want to spend that $800,000, quite frankly. So do not be surprised. As much as I would love to see them get a Travis Hamonic on the blue line, or an upgrade somehow in the middle six on the forward group, don't be surprised if the Canucks don't move that way, and that they're going to go into the training camp with the players that they have right now. Cost controlled, no more additional costs. Now, that doesn't mean they can't swing a deal. That doesn't mean they can't waive a guy, put someone in the minors. But remember, you do all that, it helps with your cap hit. If you the minors, for instance, a guy like Louis or Berchi, it helps with your cap hit, but you're still paying them the same amount of cash. So that doesn't make a difference in terms of how much Aquilini is actually paying out. So I think that's really important to notice, is the way these contracts were structured, the way they haven't really jumped at any new contracts really, is because I think they're trying to control their cash. Cap hit, they can figure out, as much as we joke around, or people joke around about Benning's not so good at managing the salary cap. The cap hit you can figure out because that's set, and you know you have a limit to go at $81.5 million for the season. But when it comes to cash, you can structure deals however you want. And I just think that the fact that Aquilini wants to save cash, cold hard cash overall, it's why Travis Green doesn't have an extension, and it's why you likely, not impossible, but you likely won't see them signing any free agents over the next week or so. Canucks fans, let me know what you think. Tell me if you follow my theory. Tell me if you agree with my theory, or am I going to be proven wrong in the next couple of days when the Canucks, out of nowhere, sign someone new to the roster? Leave a comment below. I'd love to read, react, and reply, as always. And don't forget to join me tonight, 10 p.m., for my live stream right here on YouTube. In the meantime, subscribe if you like to. Like this video if you like to. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. Have a great day. God bless, and go Canucks go.